You may be seated. If we were in church, I'd tell you to say, praise the Lord. I tell you, lift every voice and sing hits differently these days, doesn't it? Yes. I am the Reverend Dr. Timothy Tyler, the very proud pastor of First African Methodist Episcopal Church, Los Angeles. We want to welcome you tonight to this very special place. Just a couple of nights ago, your president said that Christianity is back in the nation. And then he went on to spew hate and evil out of the same mouth. All I could think about is how we are going to miss the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. We're grateful tonight for all of the dignitaries that are here, all of our community partners. Madam Mayor, it's good to see you tonight. You all don't know this. She's a member of FAME. She just hasn't made it public yet. Amen. To Tavis Smiley, my fraternity brother, my friend, my brother, the wisdom of tonight. Give him a hand. It was in this house that the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson was mentored by the builder of this house, Bishop H.H. Brookins. It was here where he was befriended and inspired, where his youngest daughter was baptized by the Reverend Cecil Chip Murray. I now sit in this chair with an ounce of humbleness because it was from this seat that the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson rose to preach the gospel, to remind us to keep hope alive. And so tonight we welcome you to the house of Biddy Mason. To the house of H.H. Brookins, to the house of Cecil Chip Murray, but most of all to the house of the Lord Jesus Christ. Won't you join me in a word of prayer? God, we baptize this gathering tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to lift up the legacy of the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Bless every song, bathe every prayer, anoint every speaker. And God, don't allow us just to sit here and reflect on the past, but help us to commit to changing the future, because that's the way Reverend Jackson would have had it. Tonight, God, as we leave this house, remind us, even in a country and a society that wants to disappear us, erase us, pretend like we don't exist anymore. Tonight, remind us that I am somebody. bless this gathering. It's in the name of Jesus I pray. And all of God's people said, amen, amen, amen. Give God praise and let's celebrate tonight in this auspicious occasion. God bless you. Welcome to your home.
One more time for Dr. Tyler. Give him some love. Let him hear it, let him hear it, let him hear it. I am Tavis Smiley, and I'm honored and humbled to stand in this sacred space tonight to celebrate the life and legacy, the work and witness of the late, great Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. I was talking to Jesse Jr. the other day, and he said, Tavis, I'm having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that my dad is now a was and not an is. Now was and not an is. We're going to celebrate Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. tonight. I know that he has to skip out before he does. Let me start by thanking the leader, the pastor of this house, the Reverend Dr. Timothy E. Tyler, once again, for taking a phone call from me. I literally talked to him Sunday morning about 11:30 after he finished his morning sermon here. I got on a phone call with him at 11:30 and said, I have an idea. I want to find a space to celebrate Reverend Jackson this week in Los Angeles. His footprint here was so massive in so many ways. We'll get to that tonight. You're going to see all kind of evidence and hear all kind of evidence that Jesse had a huge imprint here in LA. And so he came to First AME more than any other place. He was always coming to First AME. So I thought this would be the appropriate house in which to celebrate his legacy. But we get the pastor on the phone at 11:30 on a Sunday morning after he leaves the pulpit, and you ask him for a huge favor on a Friday night, 5 days later, you don't know the kind of answer you're going to get. But I'd done my research, and I said, Pastor, before we get started, and before I tell you why I called you, I want you to know that we are both born in Mississippi. M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I. Yeah, that's right. Born in Mississippi, we're both born in 1964, and we're both Kappas. So I know the answer to my question is going to be a yes. That's how I started, and it was in fact a yes, and so we agreed to gather here tonight. He had a commitment already long-standing. That's why he was in that tuxedo tonight. He was leaving here, headed to another event. So I want to just thank him one more time. When even he couldn't be here to accommodate this schedule, he allowed us to use his place. Please thank Dr. Tyler once again. All right. We have curated a wonderful 2 hours tonight that are going to allow us to love on Jesse Jackson. And I'm going to come back a little bit later and give you a proper occasion. We have some powerful speakers tonight, some amazing tributes. These persons are Black history notations themselves. Just an all-star list tonight of great speakers. Obviously some great music. Let's give this choir a hand right at the top here. Let's thank them already for their service tonight to us. We're going to hear some great music tonight, and I'm going to share some video. Jesse Jackson Sr. tonight in his own words. We're going to celebrate Jesse Jackson tonight. We're live on KBLA Talk 1580. So for those who are tuned in, we're glad to have you listening to this very special program as we celebrate again Reverend Jesse Jackson. Who better to lead this program coming out the blocks than the mayor of this city? I saw on that video monitor, as all of you did, the face of the late, great Tom Bradley. I had the honor of working for Tom Bradley as a kid, the first Black mayor of this city. I was in this house when we funeralized Tom Bradley here at First AME. So much history in the walls of this house, and how honored are we to now have the second African-American mayor of this city as we celebrate 100 years now this month. 100 years of celebrating Black history. We are honored to be in conversation tonight and in dialogue tonight with the second Black mayor, the first woman of this city. Because we're KBLA, we always introduce her the same way. We always bring her on the same way. We are KBLA, and she is KBLA. Please welcome our mayor, Karen Bass.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. God is good.
All the time.
All the time. Oh, it's always such an honor to be here with you at FAME, and I appreciate you being flexible with me, Tavis, and thank you for your leadership with KBLA. We need that. With all of the fake news, all of the nonsense, having KBLA a source of truth, a source of information for our community is absolutely critical. And of course, it would be you who would come here and want to do this celebration of life for Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I just have to tell you that he passed in Black History Month. And I don't know, I kind of interpret that to mean that he passed in the month where we celebrate African American history, and I know all of us celebrate African American history every day, but this is the certified month to celebrate it. But to me, it's a symbol for him saying, I am passing the baton, and I need all of you to pick that baton up because you have to keep the struggle going. You have to keep the struggle going. I remember watching Jesse Jackson as a child on TV and watching him participate and lead the civil rights movement. And at that point as a kid, I made a commitment that I wanted to devote my life to fighting for social and economic justice because I thought it was my responsibility. If they were out there putting their lives on the line, then I wanted to grab that baton and carry on. I remember watching him as he flew around the world, freeing people, different folks who were hostages in other countries. You remember that? And I remember when he led the anti-apartheid movement, and I was very much involved in the anti-apartheid movement. We organized to free Nelson Mandela. We organized to fight local policy and national policy so we would divest, to make sure that we did not support the apartheid regime. He led that moral crusade. I remember the last anti-apartheid event I was ever involved in, it was at Trinity Baptist Church. And we were welcoming Oliver Tambo. For those people that might remember Oliver Tambo, if you remember that event, it was in the late 80s, and Oliver Tambo was the Secretary General of the African National Congress, the ANC. And they were destined in just a few years to actually seize power and free Nelson Mandela and vote Nelson Mandela in as the first free president after apartheid was eliminated. And Jesse was there leading the way in the country for the divestment movement, for the movement to make sure that U.S. policy was changed. He focused on the world, but he also focused right here. I remember in 1984 when he spoke at the steps of City Hall. I was there when he was launching his presidential campaign. I remember like, oh my God, he's gonna run for president. He formed the Rainbow Coalition and taught us that the way to bring about change is to bring everybody together, because do the math, you bring us together and we will win. He fundamentally changed the political landscape and profoundly changed the Democratic Party that year, and turned around 4 years later and repeated it again. And after that, continued to work on a variety of issues, both economic, international, justice. And I can only imagine what he experienced in the last year of his life, looking at the threat to our democracy, the damage to our democracy. The fact that on day one, when President Trump took over, the first thing he did was went after DEI, AKA black, and fired all of the top leadership of African Americans in the White House and in the government. So here we find ourselves not just carrying the torch, but fighting against the erasure of our history, fighting against changing the African American History Museum, and trying to say that your history doesn't matter. And in fact, if we can make it illegal, we will. So all of us, to me, he has left us with the responsibility. We celebrate his life, we soak in all of his contribution, but we have to use it as a way to say we recommit to bringing about the change that is needed. When I was in Congress and chaired the Congressional Black Caucus, the last time I worked with Jesse Jackson, it was when we declared a state of emergency in 2019, worried about the election and what the administration was going to do to mess with the election. Little did we know, the day after that conference, we would the lives of everybody in the world change because it was COVID. But Jesse came and he spoke at that conference, and he injected the vigor and the enthusiasm and the commitment that everybody there needed, that in spite of COVID that was about to hit us, we were going to do whatever we could to turn out the vote and to make sure that we won the election and that we prevented the census from being tampered with and we prevented our vote from being suppressed. So think about Jesse as we celebrate him tonight. Think about where we are in our country and understand what our commitment is and recommit, re-energize, and continue the struggle for social and economic justice. Thank you so much.
One more time for LA Mayor Karen Bass. Thank you, Mayor Bass. Again, when you pull together a program like this in a matter of days, everybody has a full schedule, so I wanted to accommodate her schedule, and so I'm delighted that she could lead us off tonight and run on to do the other 18 things she has to do between now and midnight. But we thank the mayor for joining us tonight as we celebrate Jesse Jackson. Yes, one more time for Mayor Bass. So my job tonight is essentially to stay out of the way and move this program as swiftly as we can to try to get us out of here on time after we give Jesse the love that he has earned, the love that he deserves. One thing about Jesse Jackson that one can say that I think is irrefutable, he loved his people. Jesse Jackson loved his people, and we're going to love on Jesse tonight. With that, let me bring to the stage right now, to this podium, for an interfaith reflection, one of Jesse's dear friends. We know that Jesse was always talking about that Rainbow Coalition, and indeed, he created just that. Please welcome Rabbi Steven Jacobs.
The ancient prophet got it right. The ancient world got it right. The psalmist got it right. Hinema tov umanaim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together in harmony. Harmony. This is one of those unusual gatherings. You can go all over this country and get people together, and people do not agree. Tonight, we are one in the love and respect and honor of Reverend Jesse Jackson. What an honor to share a journey with Tavis, leaders who have shaped this state, this country, who are sitting here. I had the honor, the privilege to fly to Washington, D.C. in 1967 to join the Reverend Martin Luther King in a protest march against the war in Vietnam. And that's when I met Reverend Jesse Jackson, a young rabbi who afterwards said, "I want to meet with you." And that began a relationship. And one of the first things he asked me to do was to join him and to reflect upon the lives of 2 Jews and 2 blacks, Schwerner Goodman and Cheney, who were murdered in Mississippi for trying to register black voters. And we went to Mississippi to honor their lives. And from that time, Reverend Jackson said, "I want you to accompany me." And we went around the world. We went to Syria and met with the president. We met to Lebanon to see the bombed out city of Beirut, which Israel had then ruined that state, that locale, and caused tremendous tension. We went to Israel. We met with Arafat several times, trying to moderate and get a response from him about violence. And each has a tale all of its own. And then Reverend Jackson asked me, amongst all of our visits to release soldiers, I want to focus on all the memories that you're going to share this evening about our encounter in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, with President Slobodan Milosevic. He had 3 prisoners of war secluded in jail there. And Jesse, in his own way, who had this ability to release soldiers, this was one of the greatest challenges of all. And I remember very clearly, and will tell you, that Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of State, did everything to prevent our group from going to Yugoslavia. She didn't want any NGO to take credit for releasing the soldiers. And we were hauled up in D.C. State Department tried to prevent us from going. But finally, the Reverend Jesse Jackson prevails. And we were on a plane to Belgrade, bombs going off. And we negotiated, even though people in my own community felt that I should not be going to meet with another Hitler. But the art of dealing with even our enemies was his greatest gift to the world. Very few people, very few presidents could accomplish what he did. And so it is. One of the young men was Adrian Gonzalez from Los Angeles. And we released, Reverend Jackson got Milosevic to release the soldiers, and we brought them home. What a joyous, joyous time for the families. And of course, the one and only Reverend Jesse Jackson, bringing home and giving hope to the future. There's no question in each of our minds and thoughts that Jesse Jackson Sr. was a modern-day prophet. It was like the book of Micah coming alive again to what is required of each of us to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. There is so much that I could share about our relationship with Reverend Jackson, but I want to conclude with a story. We were sitting alone after having encountered those difficult times. And he turns to me and he says, I want to tell you a story about Muhammad Ali. So I'm listening. He tells me this story about Muhammad Ali was involved in a non-title fight. And in the 8th round, Muhammad Ali is knocked on his rear end, okay? And he's got blood. And he goes to his corner. And his corner says, you're not going out, you're hurt. He wipes the blood from his face. He goes back out in the next round and knocks out his opponent. Afterwards, he's asked, Mr. Ali, how did you do it? Muhammad Ali paused and he said, the ground is no place for a champion. Reverend Jesse Jackson, every day of his life, knew and never, ever would take the ground. He only took the high road. May his blessing be for an honor. Yes, we are somebody. Dear friends, keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. God bless you.
One more time, Rabbi Steven Jacobs. Rabbi Jacobs. I will tell you that one of the first phone calls or text messages I received came from my friend Rabbi Jacobs, and he just said, Tavis, very simply, what are we going to do? Everybody in LA can't get to Chicago. Some of us are going there next week for a 6, 7, 8-hour funeral. That ain't happening tonight. Jesse ain't going to change clothes 3 times like Aretha did. That's not going to happen tonight at Fame. But everybody can't go to Chicago next week. He said, Tavis, what are we going to do in LA? And so here we are tonight, in part because Steven Jacobs pushed me to make this happen. Rabbi, we love you, and we thank you for your kind words. All right. I mentioned tonight some great video, some great tributes, and some great music. Let's hear from this choir once again. Show them your love.
God is my protection. My all and all. God is my life in darkness. God is, yes, He is my all and all. God is my joy in sorrow. God is, God is, God is, God is, oh yes, He is my all, and all. God is mine today and tomorrow. Oh yeah, my God, my God, my God is, oh yes, He is my all, He's my all. God. God.
And the church said, and the church said, and the church said, all right. We're in an AME church, but I'm Pentecostal and I will preach now. If you push me hard enough, all I can say is, you know the choir singing when the city attorney is getting the Holy Ghost. I saw you, Madam City Attorney. I saw you. We got some great music. One more time for this choir. One more time for this choir. We've got some great music, some great videos, some great tributes. If Jesse Jackson was nothing else, he was a great labor leader. You cannot celebrate Jesse Jackson without tapping into his labor courage and conviction and commitment and character. And to that end, I invite you to welcome the president of the LA County Federation of Labor, Ivonne Wheeler.
Let me thank Tavis for extending this invitation for me to share in this sacred celebration of life. Tavis Smiley has long created spaces where truth can be spoken boldly and unapologetically. And I am deeply grateful to stand here because of your leadership and your love for Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson. My name is Ivonne Wheeler, and I am the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, representing over 800,000 women and men. But tonight, I simply stand here grateful. I'm a grateful beneficiary of the life and the legacy and the labor of Reverend Jackson. Tonight, we gathered in reflection and in gratitude for the extraordinary life of Reverend Jackson, a freedom fighter, a moral voice for the nation, and a relentless champion of working people. Reverend Jackson did not simply witness history, he helped shape it. From his early days working alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to founding of Operation Push and later Rainbow Coalition, Reverend Jackson stood firmly at the intersection of civil rights and economic justice. He understood something that remains profoundly true today. Civil rights without economic rights are incomplete. The right to vote means little if you cannot afford to live. The right to sit at a lunch counter means little if you cannot earn a living wage. Reverend Jackson believed that dignity was not a privilege, but it was a birthright. He marched with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. He stood with striking white workers demanding fair wages, and he challenged corporations and elected officials alike, saying that fair wages and dignity was owned by the working people. He challenged them. He opened doors for black workers, women, and people of color. He confronted systems of exclusion, not with bitterness, but with boldness, insisting that America had to live up to its promise. And he did so with moral clarity. He taught us that labor rights are civil rights, that the struggle for fair wages is inseparable from the struggle for racial justice, that when workers organize, they are not simply negotiating contracts, they are demanding recognition of their humanity. For those of us in the labor movement, Reverend Jackson was not an occasional ally, he was family. He showed up on our picket lines, he lent his voice to workers who felt unseen. He reminded corporate boardrooms and elected officials alike that working people are not expendable, they are essential. Reverend Jackson carried that message across the nation during his historic presidential campaigns, and in 1984 and 1988, he built what was called the Rainbow Coalition. uniting black, brown, white, rural, urban, young, old, union, immigrant, LGBTQ, and poor communities into one powerful vision of shared destiny. He expanded the political imagination of this country, and he showed us that our diversity is not a weakness, it is our strength. He reminded us that when we stand together, we win. Even in moments when progress felt slow, he urged us to keep hope alive. He would say that not as a slogan, but as a discipline. Hope was not passive, hope was not action, hope was organizing, hope was showing up when it was easier to stay home. Reverend Jackson's life reminds us that the arc of the moral universe does bend towards justice, but only when we put our hands on it. And right now, we're called to put our hands on it. As we confront the attacks on voting rights, immigrant rights, union rights, and racial equity, and on economic fairness, his legacy calls on us to be courageous. It calls us to build bridges when others are building walls. It calls us to defend our democracy, not just at the ballot box, but in the workplace. We honor him not only with words, but with work. We honor him when we stand with striking workers. We honor him when we register voters. We honor him when we demand a living wage and fair workplaces. And we honor him when we refuse to allow division to distract us from our shared humanity. Reverend Jesse Jackson taught us that justice is not inevitable, that it's intentional. And so as we mourn his passing, we also celebrate his impact. We celebrate a life that expanded opportunity, that confronted injustice, and inspired generations that believed that he believed belonged in rooms that once excluded us. He leaves us with the charge: keep marching, to keep organizing, and to keep believing, and to keep hope alive. May we care for his courage. May we embody his conviction. May we continue to work so faithfully as he began. And I want to say to Reverend Jackson, rest in power, knowing that the movement you nurtured is still thriving, we're still standing, we're still fighting, and we're still committed to justice for all. Thank you.
One more time for Ivonne Wheeler, LA County Federation of Labor. As I said, you can't do justice, Reverend Jackson, without talking about his love and defense always of labor. I want you now to hear Reverend Jackson in his own words. I mentioned there are a number of pieces we're going to play for you tonight. Some that will make you think, some may make you laugh, some may make you cry. But why not hear Jesse Jackson Sr. in his own words? Take a listen.
Our flag is red, white, and blue, but our nation is rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white. We are all precious in God's sight. America is not like a blanket, one piece of unbroken cloth, the same color, the same texture, the same size. America is more like a quilt, many patches, many pieces, many colors, many sizes, all woven and held together by a common thread. The white, the Hispanic, the black, the Arab, the Jew, the woman, the Native American, the small farmer, the business person, the environmentalist, the peace activist, the young, the old, the lesbian, the gay, and the disabled make up the American quilt. Even in our fractured state, all of us count and fit somewhere. We have proven that we can survive without each other, but we have not proven that we can win and make progress without each other. We must come together.
Every time I see clips of Jesse, I get jealous. He was eloquent and handsome. Eloquent and handsome all those years ago. I went to see him in Chicago a few months ago, and was laying in his bed. We all have to do that dance with mortality at some point. But laying in that bed, couldn't open his eyes, but as handsome as ever, still with a full head of hair. I said, give me some of that. Let me just take some of that. I need some back here. Give me some of that hair, Reverend. I love me some Jesse Jackson. You heard Jesse in that clip, and this is 84 now. You heard him, listen to those words, in 84. Y'all didn't get that. The coalition he was talking about building in 84, all those pieces that make up this quilt that Jesse was talking about in 84, some of us still ain't got there yet. But Jesse was talking about it in 84. Jesse was a coalition builder, and we are honored tonight to have a number of major figures in this house, and she is one of them. She is the co-founder of the United Farm Workers with Cesar Chavez. She's the founding president of the Dolores Huerta Foundation. Dolores Huerta is in the house. I'm going to ask her to come and grace us in this podium. One more time for this legend.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I am very privileged because I had the good fortune to be able to stand with Reverend Jackson on many, many occasions. And yes, I was there when he made that beautiful speech in San Francisco, but also we marched many, many times together across the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, sitting down in Army Street in the middle of the street, stopping all of the traffic in San Francisco, but we were working on another occasion there. In Delano, California, where Jesse came to stand with the farm workers in our struggles there, marching to the Mexican border, all the way down there to Calexico. There was nowhere where there was injustice happening that Reverend Jackson did not show up. He was there. We were there together. And he didn't have to be invited. He knew. So here we are in Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, where people there were struggling to get labor rights. In Chicago, marching in front of the stores there with the push campaign that he did. And I wish that we would continue that. Picketing these stores unless they would hire black people to work in those stores in the black neighborhoods, okay? It was a very successful program, a very successful program. And I think that's something we have to think about, how we can push that at the national level. So Reverend Jackson was always there for all of us. And when we think about all that he did and the foresight that he had in forming the Rainbow Coalition, because as we have heard him say, we can't do it alone. We've all got to come together. We've all got to work together. And we know, and especially in these times that we're living in right now, in these fascist times that we're living in right now, we've got to make recommit ourselves. And we know that the civil rights movement has to continue. And we have had these great leaders like Reverend Jackson. They have told us, they have shown us the way, and all we have to do is just continue that journey, continue to stay together, and we know that in the long term that we will win, but we've got to put a lot of work into that. And so I like to do this, and I'm going to ask you to share with me. I would like you to stand for a second if we could. Okay, and I want to ask everybody to shout, and I'm going to ask you all, who's got the power? And we're going to have to use all of our power to defeat this administration that is trying to take us back to slavery days, right? And we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going back to slavery days. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to shout as loud as you can so that the haters can hear us, okay? That the haters can hear us. So, and by the way, I was lucky to see Reverend Jackson at the Democratic Convention, and that was really wonderful because we were able to do a hug together, take a picture together. So I'm going to ask you who's got the power, And I want you to say, we've got the power. And I'm going to say, what kind of power? I want you to say, Jesse Jackson power, okay? But we're going to shout it really, really loud. Okay, let's go. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Jesse Jackson power. So are we going to use our Jesse Jackson power to make sure that we continue the civil rights movement and that we're going to win? And we say in Spanish, si se puede, which means I can, means you can, but more important that we can, okay? So let's go. Are we going to use our power? Okay, let's say it. Si se puede. Everybody, all together. Let's go. Have to please repeat this. Everywhere I go, I like to say this to people, that we have one human race, and our human race came from Mother Africa, all right? And we have to say to all the white supremacists out there, all the neo-Nazis out there, get over it, you're Africans, okay? Get over it, you're Africans. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Reverend Jesse Jackson, presente. Let's say it. Reverend Jesse Jackson, presente. Reverend Jesse Jackson, presente. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's just like us. I don't think Si Se Puede ever had some gospel funk on it like that. Si se puede, si se puede, si se. Stop. I don't know, I've heard Dolores Huerta do that many times, but it never sounded quite like that. Give her some love one more time. Dolores Huerta, legend. Let me tell you very quickly that at 7:30 this morning, I had an event in downtown I had to speak at, and I followed Dolores Huerta at 7:30 this morning. She'll be 96 in April. That's all I got to say about it. 96 in April. Give her some love. One more again. 7:30 this morning, 7:30 at night. She's still going strong. 96 come April. We love you, Dolores. We love you. All right. Before we get to the woman who chaired the 84 campaign, chaired the 88 campaign, Maxine Waters in the house. The Congresswoman is here. Yeah. She and Willie Brown were sharing those campaigns in 84 and 88. We'll hear from the Congresswoman in just a second after we hear from Jesse Jackson. In his own words, we gave you 84, here now, 88.
You see me on TV, but you don't know the me that makes me me. They wonder why does Jesse run? Because they see me running for the White House. They don't see the house I'm running from. I have a story. I wasn't always on television. Writers were not always outside my door. When I was born late one afternoon, October 8th, in Greenville, South Carolina, no writers asked my mother her name. Nobody chose to write down our address. A mama was not supposed to make it. and I was not supposed to make it. You see, I was born to a teenage mother who was born to a teenage mother. I understand. I know abandonment and people being mean to you and saying you're nothing and nobody and can never be anything. I understand. Jesse Jackson is my third name. I'm adopted. When I had no name, my grandmother gave me her name. My name was Jesse Burns till I was 12. So I wouldn't have a blank space. She gave me a name to hold me over. I understand when nobody knows your name. I understand when you have no name. I understand. I wasn't born in the hospital. Mama didn't have insurance. I was born in the bed at house. I really do understand. Born in a 3-room house, bathroom in the backyard, slop job by the bed, no hot and cold running water. I understand. Wallpaper used for decoration? No, for a windbreaker. I understand. I'm a working person's person. That's why I understand you, whether you're black or white. I understand work. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had a shovel programmed for my hand. My mother, a working woman. So many days she went to work early, with runs in her stockings. She knew better, but she rolled runs in her stockings so that my brother and I could have matching socks and not be laughed at school. I understand. At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. We had to play football to entertain ourselves. And then around 6 o'clock, she would get off the Alta Vista bus and we would bring up the leftovers and eat our turkey, leftovers, the caucus, the cranberries, around 8 o'clock at night. I really do understand. Every one of these funny labels they put on you, those of you who are watching this broadcast tonight in the projects, on the corners, I understand. Call you outcast, low down, you can't make it, you're nothing, you're from nobody, subclass, underclass. When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
But the slum was not born in me, and it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On the northern night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. Ain't nobody like him. Ain't nobody like him. While you're on your feet, show your love for Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters and Jesse Jackson go back a long way. Somebody had to chair those campaigns in 84 and 88, and she was there, and we dare not have this gathering tonight to celebrate the life and legacy, the working witness of Jesse Jackson without inviting her to say a few words. Please welcome Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Well, well, well.
Here we are at a very special time and a very special moment. Ladies and gentlemen, first I want you to know I brought with me one of my most precious Reverend Jesse Jackson, 1984. Now, I want you to know that what is so special about this is, first of all, it was 1984. Second of all, it was Jesse Jackson, a black man, who decided that he was going to run for the President of the United States of America. We didn't have a lot, didn't have a lot of money, didn't have big contributors, didn't know how to handle the Secret Service, didn't know we were going to have an airplane that was going to be assigned to us, on and on and on. But we put it together day by day. And I want you to know that Jesse Jackson is one of the most special people in my life. And when I first learned that he had passed, and of course we knew that he had been weakened, we knew that he had been ill for a long time, but you know, you never think that it's going to happen. And when I talked to his wife, Jackie Jackson, she told me, don't worry, Maxine, he ain't gonna die. She said he's too strong to die. He's too withered to die. And so he's gone. But I want to tell you that I wrote a little something at that moment, and it was just about Jesse and me. The very Reverend Jesse Jackson, presidential candidate and civil rights leader, was not only my close friend and confidant, he was my longtime political ally and mentor. Reverend Jesse Jackson was my idol and spiritual and political leader. He was a brilliant, gifted, and courageous civil rights leader who inspired millions. He registered millions to vote and challenged and changed Democratic Party politics. Reverend Jesse Jackson was one of the youngest followers and supporters of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and spent his life continuing to protect and save the gains that were made during the civil rights movement. I became a dedicated and committed follower of Jesse Jackson. I worked with Reverend Jackson in both the 1984, 1988 presidential campaigns. I was a top advisor on the national campaign and appointed by Reverend Jackson to chair and lead the California campaign. I was a close-up witness to Reverend Jackson's brilliant campaign strategies and developments. He used his voice and his organizing skills to create the beautiful Rainbow Coalition, long before there was any understanding or appreciation for diversity, equity, and inclusion. For all intents and purposes, Reverend Jackson created diversity, equity, and inclusion in his campaign. His campaign included blacks, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans, whites, women, LGBTQ, organized labor, and others. He brought together pastors and preachers and multi-faith leaders from all over the country. And I recall so very well his work and his outreach to small farmers, many of them considered conservative and racist, but we went into those rural areas and we went to Native Americans on reservations. Jesse Jackson was not afraid to go any place, anytime, and anywhere. And I can remember the time I took him to Nickerson Gardens Housing Project, and the young people were excited. And so they said to him, why don't you stay with us all night? And guess what he did? Went into one of those units, slept in his clothes, and stayed with them all night long. Nickerson Gardens. Oh, but he didn't only do all of that. He was responsible for cracking open the doors of America's corporate community, and those, in Silicon Valley that never seen anybody like Reverend Jackson before. But he was also an international ambassador for peace. He used his tremendous influence to champion human rights. I worked with him in the Free South Africa movement, where we helped free Nelson Mandela and bring an end to apartheid in South Africa. Oh my God, we had a wonderful experience of attending the inauguration when Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. We sat on the front row and we watched the formations in the skies of the Air Force in South Africa, who had been a part of the apartheid system, now doing formations in the sky, honoring Nelson Mandela. It was a marvelous time. It was a wonderful time. Reverend Jackson has earned more than his place in history, and rightfully so. I can recall when he helped to secure the release of U.S. hostages around the world. But that one that stands out to me is when he went to Syria and negotiated the release of U.S. Navy Lieutenant Robert Goodman, Jr. His work will never be forgotten and will be taught in communities all over the world, in places low and high, in our schools and universities. I will live the rest of my life with the memories I cherish for the time, the effort, and the phenomenal work that I experienced with the Reverend Jesse Jackson, presidential candidate and civil rights leader. Give him a big round of applause. Now, I want to just take a few minutes because when I walked in, I looked up on the screen and there he was. And he was talking about the tough times, the hard times, about his mom, what they did not have, and from whence he came. Now, somebody with that background, you would think would be mean and cruel and want to pay everybody back because of the hard times that he had had. But I want to extract some of what he really was all about that came out in the 1984 speech at the Democratic Convention. Just a few of those. Tonight he said, and this is all his speech, I'm reading his speech. Tonight we come together bound by our faith in a mighty God, with genuine respect and love for our country and inheriting the legacy of a great party, the Democratic Party, which is the best hope for redirecting our nation on a more humane, just, and peaceful course. And these are the kind of words that really did grab me. He said, this is not a perfect party. We are not a perfect people, yet we're called to a perfect mission. Our mission: to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to house the homeless, to teach the illiterate, to provide jobs for the jobless, and to choose the human race over the nuclear race. We are gathered here this week, he said, to nominate a candidate and adopt a platform which will expand, unify, direct, and inspire our party and the nation to fulfill this mission. And listen what he said about who he represented. And this is so important because we have elected officials and politicians who try to be something that they are not. And oftentimes, they're not telling you what they feel, but they're telling you what they think you want to hear. But listen what he said in this wonderful speech way back in 1984. He said, again, we are gathered here this week to nominate a candidate and adopt a platform which will expand, unify, direct, and inspire our party and the nation to fulfill its mission. That's why we're here. But listen what he said his constituency was. My constituency is the desperate, the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and the despised. They are restless and they seek relief. They have voted in record numbers. They have invested the faith, hope, and trust that they have in us. The Democratic Party must send them a signal that we care, and I pledge my best not to let them down. There is a call of conscience, redemption, expansion, healing, and unity. Leadership must heed the call of conscience, redemption, expansion, healing, and unity, for they are the key to achieving our mission. Time is neutral and does not change things. With courage and initiative, leaders change things. No generation can choose the age of circumstance in which it was born, but through leadership, it can choose to make the age in which it is born an age of enlightenment, an age of jobs and peace and justice. Only leadership, that intangible combination of gifts, the discipline, information, circumstance, courage, timing, will, and divine inspiration, can lead us out of the crisis in which we find ourselves. Leadership can mitigate the misery of our nation. Leadership can part the waters and lead our nation in the direction of the promised land. Leadership can lift the boats stuck at the bottom. There's more, but don't you get the sense of who he really was? And I want you to know, I don't care what they said about Jesse. On the road, he prayed all day long. He was in prayer. He was praying. He was a praying man. And I know folks don't see sometimes elected officials as Christians or religious people, but I want you to know I learned to pray and pray with Jesse Jackson. Now, my mother thought that she had taught me that. We went to Sunday school every Sunday. We sat on the bench with all my 12, 13 brothers and sisters, and we cried along with our mother because she was happy, and we didn't know why she was crying, so we cried with her. But I want you to know she had us in that religious setting. But it was with Jesse Jackson that I really got it. I got it because up until that time, I was a smart aleck. Nobody could tell me anything. I didn't really believe what they talked about when they talked about faith. But when I got with Jesse Jackson and I saw that he could walk this country, go all over the world, having been beaten, having talked about, having been condemned, but he could get on his knees and pray every day, then I thought there must be something to this prayer. I'm going to try this praying with Jesse Jackson. And I started praying with Jesse Jackson. And because of that, I have a great respect for First AME Church. I have a great respect for Reverend Tyler. I have a great respect for religion. And even though I am an elected official, and even though I understand what my job is with public policy, it does not come without faith. It does not come without belief in God. It does not come with me thinking I know everything. Now, I'm not going to get too political with this because this is all about Jesse. But I want you to know, as I go to bed every night thinking about him, I'm thinking about what would he do at a time like this. And I'm thinking that he would have an answer to how we approach this thing that we're dealing with. I'm thinking that he would have more direction for us to deal with something that we had never encountered before. And I said, what would Jesse do? We've been with the most conservative. We've faced racism. We've done all of that. But this that we're dealing with now in Congress, in the United States, the President of the United States, nobody could help us know exactly what to do but the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you, First AME. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
One more time for Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I mentioned earlier that I was with Dolores Huerta this morning at 7:30. Guess who else was there at 7:30? Exactly. These long-distance runners, both were there this morning, both here this evening. Let's thank Maxine Waters once again for coming through. There are a number of dignitaries who I want to acknowledge who are with us tonight, electeds and others, in a moment. There are some sponsors who made this night possible. I want to thank them in a moment. But we are joined by a very special guest, and it is late in Chicago, and he has stayed up to bring us a special word from the city of Chicago. He is the son of Jesse L. Jackson Sr., Jesse L. Jackson Jr., former congressman and perhaps soon to be congressman again. Jesse, can we see Jesse? There he is, Jesse L. Jackson Jr. Brilliant and eloquent and handsome, just like his daddy. Jesse Jr., we are at First AME Church, the historic First AME. You've been here many times in LA, and I know it's late in Chicago. I thank you for staying up late, and the mic is yours, sir, to present as you will. Thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time this evening. We love you, Jesse.
I love you too, Tavis. Let me first begin by expressing my appreciation to First AME Church for their willingness and for KBLA's willingness to host this meeting for the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and in memory of the extraordinary legacy that is Jesse Jackson's. It's very difficult to follow Congresswoman Maxine Waters and the extraordinary remarks that she just delivered about her very close and dear friend, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I do want to add that in the last week or so, I have been thinking a lot about my father. I have, as you know, his memorial services began today in the city of Chicago with a public viewing, and the thousands of people who have shown up to see Reverend Jackson in repose has not only warmed my mother's heart, but it has warmed our hearts as children. We recognize that we are not just in mourning for our father, but the community itself is in mourning. And so we stand by Dad's side from 10 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. in the evening, literally hugging thousands of people who have a Jesse Jackson story. Jesse Jackson was that guy. Everybody has on social media their own picture of Jesse Jackson, whether it's in an airport or whether it's in church, whether it's in a school, whether it's at a graduation ceremony, whether it's at a rally or whether it is at a march, because Jesse Jackson was one of us, and he made himself available. And Tavis, in this moment, when I listen and reflect upon the remarks of Maxine Waters and the great friend and friendship that she had with Jesse Jackson, I think she really touched on it when she talked about the circumstances of Reverend Jackson's birth, how he was born to a teenage mother, to a father who was married to another woman, and he lived literally across the fence, and would see his biological father, who initially did not own him. His wife said that she didn't want to have children, and Noah Robinson said, "I'm going to have me a son." And he had a son from a teenage young lady next door who was kicked out of the church for having a relationship with an unmarried man, because such was the social mores of the segregated South in Greenville, South Carolina. When Dad was born, suddenly Mr. Robinson's wife, who was supposedly barren, had 3 sons essentially very quickly, all essentially in the same age group. So this idea of somebodyness, Maxine Waters talked about Jesse Jackson not being bitter, but the transformation of his personality from what could have been bitter to I am somebody, would lead Jesse Jackson in a real way to embrace the Joseph story. And over the course of his life, he would end up not only preaching the eulogy of his biological father, he would preach the eulogy of his non-biological mother. He would preach the eulogy of each of his father-bearing or father-identified biological brothers, and he would hire each and every one of them and provide them with health care and the kinds of amenities that they needed to raise their own children, including putting his own or their own children through college. Jesse Jackson's spirit was so magnanimous and it was so great, from the circumstances of his birth and how he interpreted that birth, to an amazing sense of somebodyness, not just for himself, but somebodyness for a people that had lost their way. And so when he connected the red, the yellow, the brown, the black, and the white, and as Maxine said, the desperate, the damned, the disinherited, and those who had been left behind, Jesse Jackson understood that in a personal space. And in that personal space, he not only transformed a nation, he transformed the world. The uniqueness of Jesse Jackson and the uniqueness of this opportunity, as I reflect upon the love and justice ethic of Cornel West, who is sitting in the audience right there, right now at First AME Church. Dad loved and listened to Dr. West. He had profound respect for Tavis Smiley and the ministry that both West and Smiley carry out, not only in and on KBLA, but their public ministries. He understood that one life had the power to transform human spirit energy, domestically in the United States, but throughout our world. And so the day after Dad expired, and I was with him when he delivered his last breath, I heard it myself, and I woke my mother up and two other individuals who were in the apartment caregiving for my father at the same time. I said, Mama, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And she said, no, I'm going back to sleep. He'll be up in a car. I said, Mama, Daddy is not breathing. He took his last breath. In that last breath was the moment of hope and opportunity for all of us. An opportunity to reach out, Democrat and Republican, liberal and conservative, red and blue, and to recognize the gift that Jesse Jackson was to all of us, to use this moment, not to continue the political rhetoric, but to reach out to our neighbor and do what has been commanded of us by the divine, to love our neighbor as ourselves, to turn our enemies or to see our political enemies as frenemies, to increase and broaden understanding, and to do right by loving God and doing justice and doing mercy in the space that we have to occupy for the limited time that we have as we circle the cosmos. I am particularly honored and privileged that Tavis would give me this opportunity. Yes, it's late, but Dad loved Los Angeles. He loved this community, and this community in 1984 welcomed him in San Francisco, California. And while First AME is in Los Angeles, it transformed Jesse Jackson into an international figure who by 1986 would take the Senate from a very popular president named Ronald Reagan, and Democrats would pick up seats in the southern states, just like the midterms that we find ourselves in. At a time when Hakeem Jeffries could be the next Speaker of the House, if we can transform the energy of this moment and let the crazy man do what crazy folk do, but if we register people to vote, turn to each other and not on each other, we can form the coalition that Jesse Jackson was talking about and build a better America, to build a better promise, and to deliver for the very constituency that Jesse Jackson so articulately enabled and fought for the better part of his life. Thank you, Tavis, for having me, and God bless KBLA, and God bless First AME.
Jesse, I want you to know that this church is standing on its feet. It's standing on its feet right now in celebration of you and your father, Miss Jackie, and your entire family. I hope you can feel this love coming through this Zoom connection. A lot of, give it to him, y'all. Give it to him. Give it to him. It's LA love for the Jackson family. We love you, Jesse. We love you, man. We are pulling and praying for your family. Give our best to your mother. And if the Lord says the same, Congresswoman Waters, Dr. West, yours truly and others, we'll see you in Chicago for the service next week. Get some rest, man. We love you, man.
Love you, buddy. Thank
Jesse
you,
Jackson. After that, all I can say is the choir. The First AME Mass Choir. Give them some love. The Minister of Music, Dr. Larry Dennis. Give him some love one more time, y'all. The First AME Mass Choir. Dr. Larry Dennis. I hear you on that bass. I hear you, Freddie. I hear you. All right. Fab Freddie. I hear you, man. I hear you. You just heard from the son, Jesse Jackson Jr., 2 more speakers, and I promised we'd be out here before 9 or by 9. We start on time, we're going to end on time. That's how we do it, just like I promised you. I want to share with you 2 more clips of Reverend Jackson in his own words. You heard the son, but I want you now to hear once again the father. Let me just mention, I know some of them have come and had to leave, but I want to call all the names of persons who I saw in here tonight. Please thank Council President Marquise Harris Dawson for being here tonight. Assembly Member Mike Gibson, thank you, sir. Jim Mangia, President and CEO of St. John Community Health, is here. LA City Council Member Monica Rodriguez, I see you sitting right there. Monica Rodriguez is here. Give her some love. I saw Compton Mayor Emma Sharif here earlier. LA County City Attorney Heidi Felstein Soto is still here. Thought I saw Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas somewhere in the back. Former Senator Rod Wright is here. Former California State Controller, now running for governor, Betty Yee is here. I saw Councilman Curran Price earlier. He had to leave. I saw him. Please give all these electeds, all these honorables, some praise. I miss anybody? Miss anybody? Miss anybody? Anybody? When you run a radio station, you don't want to get cussed out for missing a dignitary. Might mess with my money. Did I miss anybody? Okay. All right. Here is Reverend Jackson. I want to play 2 clips. Here's the first. It'll make sense when you see it. You'll get it. Give me the clip, y'all.
Ready on the stump? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor. But I am somebody. I may be young. But I am somebody. I may be on welfare. But I am somebody. I may be small. But I am somebody. I may make a mistake. But I am somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different. But I am somebody. I am black, brown, white. I speak a different language. But I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Give yourself a big hand.
I know some of you have seen that clip. Some of you may be seeing it for the first time, but I want to just give you a quick backstory before I play this last clip, and we're going to move to our closing speaker tonight. Dr. Cornel West is in the house. Jesse Jackson appeared on Sesame Street in 1972. Y'all missed that. This is a black man with an afro, with a medallion, pre-Al Sharpton. That's the pre-Al Sharpton medallion. Jesse did it first. In 1972, this Negro is on Sesame Street talking to a multiracial group of kids, telling them, I am somebody. Give Jesse Jackson Sr. some love. That's 1972. Jesse was 31, sitting on that stump. He was just 31 years of age and was already making an impact in this country and around the globe. 31 was Jesse sitting on that stump talking to those kids. Because even our babies are somebody's too. Donald Trump, even our babies are somebody's too. I'm like Maxine, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to be too political. This clip I absolutely love. It needs no introduction. But of all the things that I've talked to Jesse about over the years in terms of the things that he did so well and the spaces he occupied, this one we laughed about and laughed about and laughed about repeatedly. Take a listen to Jesse Jackson.
Like many of us, I grew up with Dr. Seuss, and one of my favorite stories is Green Eggs and Ham. Here to read from this classic is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend?
Tonight, rather than read from 1st and 2nd Samuel, I read from Sam, I Am. According to the Latter-day Saint Seuss. You do not like green eggs and ham? I do not like them. Sam, I am. I could not, would not on a boat. I will not with a goat. I will not eat them in the rain. I will not eat them on a train. Not in the dark, not on a tree, not in a car. You let me be. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I will not eat them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. You do not like them? So you say. Try them, and you may. Try them, and you may, I say. Sam, if you will let me be, I will try them, you will see. Say, I'd like green eggs and ham. I do, I'd like them, Sam, I am. And I would eat them in a boat. And I would eat them with a goat. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam. I am.
As those who knew him would attest, Jesse was funny. He had a great sense of humor, great practical joker, and that clip just makes my heart feel a little better. I think one of the reasons, I was saying to Dr. West the other day, I think one of the reasons so many of us are feeling this so viscerally is that for so many years, Jesse Jackson was so ubiquitous in our lives. He was everywhere, doing everything all the time. To be on Sesame Street in 72 and Saturday Night Live, hosting that show a couple of times, just ubiquitous was Jesse Jackson. And so his impact on our lives is deep and will be felt for many, many years to come. I am delighted now to bring to the stage the final speaker of the night. Actually, we have a special guest in town tonight who will do the benediction. But this is the last major address to you of the night. We're going to hear from this choir afterwards and then have our benediction. But I want to leave a few minutes here now for my dear friend and brother to come in his own way. No introduction needed. Please welcome Dr. Cornel West.
Dear brother Jesse Louis Jackson Sr., we love you. We love you. We'll never, ever forget you. Nobody like brother Jesse. My God, it was just about 10 days ago. My beloved wife and I, Anahita, were there with he and the one and only Jackie. And she's so magnificent, Jackie, in her own way. Give it up for Jackie Jackson. There is no Jesse without Jackie. 67 years together. We're just holding his hand for 2 hours. His eyes moving, as Brother Tavis said. And we just reflecting on his pilgrimage, reflecting on his journey. And the very fact that my brother Tavis would be able to bring us together here in Los Angeles to reflect on his pilgrimage. Brother Tavis was speaking this morning at 7:30, Charles Drew. Yesterday we had a magnificent salute to our black comic artists, because you know we don't exist without the laughter of a Jesse Jackson or a Richard Pryor or a Moms Mabley or a Dick Gregory, and we haven't got to Monique yet. Brother Tavis, KBLA, speaking the truth. My God, my God. We love Jesse and we love Tavis. Give it up for my brother Tavis Smiley. We're there with old brother Ren Brown, the eloquent Ren Brown. I don't know if Ann is. There she is. Give it up for Ann. Love you. Oh, yes, we all go together. And I say that because you see, Jesse Jackson was a genius. He was a giant. He was a titan. Yes, he was an icon. But we come from a great tradition of a great black people who never separate personalities and individuals into some isolated space. Jesse Jackson was a mighty wave in a great ocean of a black peoples, some of whom didn't make it. That city of bones that sits at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean that the great August Wilson talks about in Gem of the Ocean. So the very fact that we're here and in our right minds itself is a kind of miracle before we even get to the genius of the Jesse Jacksons and so many others. No Jesse without Helen, his mama. No Jesse without Noah, his father. No Jesse without George, his stepfather. No Jesse without Sam Proctor, who was the president of North Carolina A&T, who allowed Jesse into college with no exams, no essays, just met him and said, I think God can use you. Come on, Negro. I don't know you well, but come to North Carolina A&T because you're going to University of Illinois to be the first black quarterback, and that was too much for our vanilla brothers and sisters at that time. And I tell you, one of the greatest moments in the history of American culture was when the great Garner Taylor gave the eulogy for Sam Proctor in Abyssinian Baptist Church. I'll never forget it. Jesse cried like a baby because he, like you know, that he was who he was because somebody loved him. Somebody cared for him. And he also knew that he came from a people who have been so chronically and systemically hated for 400 years, every day, every month, every year, and yet taught the world so much about love. What is it about these black people that they could be so hated, and yet you see a Jesse Jackson with smile and style and love flowing through him? He didn't get it by himself. Harriet Tubman was in him. Frederick Douglass was in him. Ida B. Wells was in him. A. Philip Randolph was in him. Martin Luther King Jr. was his mentor. Ralph Abernathy was his partner. James Lawson taught him. All of us are part of a cloud of witnesses. So when we look at Jesse, we're looking at the best of ourselves. And of course, he's a cracked vessel like each and every one of us. But oh, he comes from a great black people. That I can look at the cracks that I have, and I can still muster the courage to love my crooked neighbor with my crooked self. People raise the question, how could Jesse have so much energy, gusto, commitment, conviction, vitality, vibrancy? Well, it has so much to do with that tradition on the gut bucket, Jim Crow side of Greenville, South Carolina, that started in Springfield Baptist Church. And yes, he got pushed out of that church, but he went to Long Branch Baptist Church. And it had something to do with my dear brother, your dear brother Jesse, falling in love with a Palestinian Jew named Jesus. Don't get it twisted. You can talk about Jesse Jackson all night long in terms of his politics. Absolutely, he was progressive. You can talk about him all night long in terms of his rhetorical and oratorical genius. But if you don't get to his relation to Jesus, you're going to miss much of who Jesse Jackson really was. That deep down in the midnight hour, he knew that he had to fall back on something, because he comes from a great black people who knew and understood what the great Henry Highland Garnett said in 1843 in Buffalo when he stepped to the didn't have microphones in those days, to the lantern. Only had one leg, had lost his right leg to the black freedom struggle, so he had his crutch probably with a gangster lean. And he said, never confuse the situation of black people in America with the situation of Israelites in the Hebrew scripture. For black people, Pharaoh is on both sides of the bloody Red Seas. What are we to do? Everywhere we look, we see pharaohs. Sojourner Truth sitting next to Frederick Douglass. She whispered in his ear, Fred, is God dead? And God is dead on Holy Saturday after the crucifixion on Friday. And black folk been living that long Saturday for 400 years. Watching, waiting, fighting, laughing, organizing, mobilizing. And when you hear Jesse Jackson speak in San Francisco, invoking the biblical criteria of politics, what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. Keep track of the dejected and the despised and the disinherited. That's no political discourse that comes from a people who have appropriated a Hebrew scripture and fell in love with a Jesus that told them, commanded them, focus on the least of these, whoever and whatever you are. I don't care if you're a sanitation worker. I don't care if you're a pharmacist. I don't care if you're a politician. I don't care if you're a professor. You, at your highest spiritual and moral level, must lift your voice, which is the anthem of black people. It doesn't say lift your echo. Got too many echoes around here reflecting silos. Don't take no courage to lift the echo. Can't be a blues woman or a jazz man if it's just going to be an echo. You got to find your voice. That's what James Cleveland told Aretha. Find your voice, girl. Quit imitating Marion. That's what Monk told Coltrane. Quit imitating Johnny Hodges of the Duke Ellington Band. Find your voice, Monk. Find your voice, Sarah, Ella, Billy, Luther. Find your voice. And I know I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm going to say the Whispers and the Scotty Twins. They found their voice. Barry White did too. And your voice is like your fingerprint. Jesse Jackson found his voice based on rooting and immersing himself in the best of a tradition of a people who have been terrorized for 400 years, but teach the world about freedom for everybody. Traumatized for 400 years, but at our best choose to be wounded healers rather than wounded hurters, dealing with depths of sadness and sorrow we don't have a language for, but teaching the world so much about joy. That's where Jesse Jackson comes from. And it embraces everybody, but it begins on the chocolate side of town. And part of our challenge is that we're losing access to that great tradition. The black freedom struggle has always been the leaven in the American democratic loaf. America would have gone fascist long time ago if it wasn't for the black freedom struggle. They would have been at each other's throats without the Martin Kings and the Fannie Lou Hamers and the Frederick Douglasses, all the way up to the Jesse Jackson. But what happens when the black freedom struggle starts getting weak? Well, the loaf gets stale. And when the loaf gets stale, you get organized greed on steroids. You get weaponized hatred on steroids. You get routinized indifference on steroids. And the great Rabbi Heschel used to say what? Indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. And we're living now in a whole culture of an empire where the organized greed and the weaponized hatred and the institutionalized indifference and the routinized cruelty and love and empathy become a foe rather than a companion. And so the voice, the witness, the words, the laughter, the styles, and as Brother Tavis say, the looks too. Jesse Jackson's got to be one of the few politicians I know who could sing with the dramatics and the Delphonics. Because he's a good-looking brother. Oh, yes. One human being in a rich family, rich tradition, falling in love with a Palestinian Jew named Jesus, and then unleashing it on the whole world, connected to a whole host of other voices, other figures, other movements around the world. He understood what Brother Martin meant when Martin said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So yes, it's true that a Palestinian baby has the same value as an Israeli baby. It's true that an Iranian baby has the same value as an Ethiopian baby. A brown and a yellow and a black baby have exactly the same value. And if you really believe that, then when you stand in with our immigrants being terrorized, that's not something that's abnormal and aberrational. That's something that sits at the center of who you are, and you rather be defeated at the moment and not allow evil to triumph, because sooner or later this too shall pass. So we say to the gangster Trump administration, You're enslaved by hatred. You're in bondage to greed. This too shall pass. And we black folk, we are on intimate terms with organized greed and weaponized hatred for 400 years. And we still standing. We're standing with dignity. We're standing with grace. We standing with style. And we going down fighting. Just like Duke Ellington said, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And put love in that swing. Put justice in that swing. Jesse, we love you. We'll never, ever forget you.
Cornel West. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West. Give him some love one more time. Let Dr. West hear it. Let him hear it one more again. I want to do two things, and we're going to let this choir sing us out of here. Don't move, don't move, don't move. If you ever went to Chicago for Operation Push on Saturday mornings, where they are going to funeralize Reverend Jackson finally on Saturday. There's a major service on Friday at the House of Hope, seats 10,000 people. That's the public service on Friday. But on Saturday, they are going to funeralize him in the place where he stood every Saturday for decade after decade after decade, enlightening, encouraging, empowering people in Chicago and indeed around the world. And every Saturday, they would sing themselves. Jesse loved music. Would sing themselves right on out of the gathering every Saturday. We're going to do that tonight in honor of Reverend Jackson. Before I do that, though, I'm glad this choir is ready to go. I'm coming to y'all in 3 minutes. Sam and Dave said, hold on, I'm coming. Hold on, I'm coming. I want to thank, I saw Dr. Mark Lee Thomas. Give Mark Lee Thomas some love. He's here somewhere. I saw him. I raised his name because I want to thank the Empowerment Congress for sponsoring this tonight. I want to thank SCLCLA for sponsoring this tonight. I want to thank Ivonne Wheeler and the LA County Federation of Labor for sponsoring this tonight. I want to thank the United Faith Community for sponsoring this tonight. I want to thank St. John's Community Health for sponsoring this tonight. And let's thank Fame one more time for letting us come in this space tonight. Dr. Tyler, we thank you. I'm going to ask my friend, the Reverend Dr. Starsky Wilson. Dr. Wilson, where are you at? Well, there he is. This brilliant, eloquent black man is the one who had the honor of stepping into the shoes of Marion Wright Edelman. Speaking of great black sheroes, let's give some love to Marion Wright Edelman, founder of the Children's Defense Fund. He happens to be in town. He's actually preaching here Sunday morning. So you're going to get a couple minutes tonight, but Sunday morning you get a whole sermon. He'll be here at First AME as their guest speaker Sunday morning. He's a dear friend of mine, happens to be in town, and I asked him if he would come because Dr. Tyler had to run to that other event, as you recall, 2 hours ago. And so I asked Dr. Wilson, would he come and give us the benediction? So I'm going to ask him now to give us the benediction after I tell you one more thing. I called Dr. Tyler on Sunday, as I said, asked him, could we use Fame? And then I called my dear friend, Kim Logan, and asked her, can you come to my office this week, leave your other job, come to me for a week and help us put this program together. I don't know where she is, but I want you to give a round of applause to Kimberly Logan. Give Kim some love for all these videos and all these speakers, the entire program. Kimberly Logan pulled together. Kimberly, I thank you for your hard work to make this happen. That said, as we say in the Baptist Church, the next voice you hear will be that of the Reverend Dr. Starsky Wilson for the benediction. After the benediction, the choir is going to sing us out of here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for supporting KBLA Talk 1580. It means a great deal to us. We are honored to have been at the epicenter of organizing this celebration for the late, great Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr., my friend, Dr. Starsky Wilson.
Giving all praise to God, honor to Dr. Tyler in his absence, to you, Tavis, thank you so much for gathering us together, to the incomparable Dr. Cornel West. Thank you so much for reminding us of the greatness that is in Reverend Jackson and thus in all of us. In that tradition and following as you have guided us, it is appropriate for us to bring greetings on behalf of the Children's Defense Fund, those who guide and champion those children who gathered around that young Jesse Jackson so many years ago, and who have been inspired by him for all our lives. Because he was one follower of that Palestinian Jew from the wrong side of the tracks, only appropriate to close this time together with an encouragement for us from the sacred tradition that meant so much to him and from him himself. And so, as Paul wrote to the church at Thessalonica, who were also dealing with what it meant to handle transitions, he said these words: "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about those who have fallen asleep, so that you may not grieve as others who do not have hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have died. For this we declare to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will by no means precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord said himself, with the cry of a command and the archangel's call and with the sound of God's trumpet, will descend from heaven, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, be caught up with him in the clouds together with them to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever. Therefore, encourage one another with these words." We come bringing a word to you so that you are not despondent, so that you are not down or depressed, so that you are not ones who have no hope. I live in Washington, D.C., and a lot of people outside of D.C., when they talk about Reverend Jackson and we talk about politics, they talk about him running for president in 1984 or running for president in 1988. It wasn't until I moved to Washington, D.C., and I've been paying attention to Reverend Jackson cheating off his paper all my life. Until I moved to Washington, D.C., I didn't know that the people had elected him a shadow senator in 1991. And the efforts to expand the representation of black people, D.C. statehood movement elected him from 1991 to 1997 to be the shadow senator there. People didn't know that, and people also forget. I think about this a lot because of my service at Children's Defense Fund, that Marion Wright Edelman, who was the public policy director for King's Poor People's Campaign, she says her little apartment in Washington, D.C. was the registered address for the entity that was Resurrection City. I don't want you to be ignorant or uninformed so that you grieve as those who have no hope. Her apartment was the registered address for Resurrection City, but Resurrection City had a 26-year-old mayor. And the iconography of the Poor People's Campaign that many people know when you go to the Blacksonian in Washington, D.C., is the mayor of Resurrection City, amid leaky tents from a mobilization that was rained upon. At 26 years old, before he was on Sesame Street, one Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. was the mayor of Resurrection City. I don't want to have you ignorant, brothers and sisters, about those who have fallen asleep, so that you might grieve as those who have no hope. If ye believe, as Jesse believed, that Jesus died and came again, then he will be caught up with him again in the air. No, he wasn't the president. He was the president of Black America for a long time. He wasn't the president of the United States of America, and he wasn't the shadow senator for a long time, but he was the mayor of Resurrection City. So I don't worry about whether we'll see Jesse again. He has been and seen this resurrection thing before, and if we believe, then we shall as well. And so we don't grieve as those who have no hope. We grieve as a 12-year-old boy in Dallas, Texas, looking up to the stage in Atlanta, Georgia on July 19th, 1998. We seek to do the work of one who can only do it himself. Jesse was one, knowing that benediction is words of blessing, knowing the great man that he is and was and ever will be. I know that I'm not fit to commit words of blessing on his behalf. And so we lift his words at this moment for all of us. As you go tonight, remember wherever you are, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets hard sometimes, dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. He went to the scripture again. Character breeds faith, and in the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. Jesse provides words of blessing. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're equipped, you're qualified, you hold on and you hold out. You must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive on tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. These are your words of blessing from one of our greatest prophets. Keep hope alive.
Yesterday, a man stepped to me, he said, how can you smile when the world is tumbling down? I said, here's my secret, when I want to cry, I take a look around and see that I'm getting by, and I hold on. Hold on. Change is coming. Change is coming. Hold on. Hold on. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Better hold on. Everything. Some people like to worry. Some people like to hide. Some people like to run away from the pain inside. Now that's your business. Do whatever you want to do. But if it don't work out, here's what you want to do. You just hold on. Change is coming. Better hold on. We can make it. Hold on. Everything. Better hold on. Change is coming. Hold on. Don't worry. Better hold on. We can make it. Hold on. Yeah. Hold
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with distinguished professor and head of the Department of Philosophy, University of Connecticut, Dr. Lewis R. Gordon. Honored to have him on to cover a lot of ground in this hour. Just getting started here. In case you've just tuned in, he was teeing up something rather nicely, suggesting that we are in a moment where the word, I'm paraphrasing, he can speak for himself, obviously, we're in a moment where the